Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the In the 11 podcast. I'm your host, Brendan Griffiths, and this is the show where we bring on those from the world of football to show you what it takes to be in the 11 at the highest possible level. One of my favorite things about doing this show is when I get to have my friends and my former teammates on the podcast to be able to share their stories, and especially when I have such a close relationship with them and we've been able to connect through football, it's always amazing to have them back on here. So this week's guest is just that, Leang Valenzuela, one of my teammates from back in Darmstadt, who we kind of talked about his story in 2020. We did actually, if you want to go and check that out, it's episode 20 of the podcast. We talk about his journey up to kind of Darmstadt and what happened in the year of 2020 for him. But we obviously haven't jumped on the pod in 3 years, so a lot has happened in his career. And I am so happy that I was able to have him on the show again and get to chat with him. We obviously stay in contact all the time. We haven't actually seen each other since Darmstadt, which is unfortunate and crazy, but it's just sometimes the nature of the world of football when everybody's in different parts of the world all the time. And also we had COVID, so it was tough to connect for the past couple of years in person. But he's also going through some injury struggles right now. Just coming off a knee surgery, as we speak about the top there, just kind of unfortunately got some bad news on his other knee. So we talk a little bit about what that's like and break down his career a little bit from the past couple of years. So I appreciate Leang so much for coming on the show. I appreciate all of you guys for watching and listening. Speaking to those of you who are watching right now, as we've making a push these past couple of weeks, please go ahead and if you're watching on YouTube right now and you're not subscribed, click that subscribe button. If you are listening right now and you are not subscribed on YouTube, do me a real quick favor, pause the episode, boom, open up your YouTube, find this episode, bang, maybe even drop a like on the episode, but definitely hit that subscribe button. It takes just a second out of your time, and I greatly appreciate it as it helps the channel grow so much. So without further ado, here's myself. My very good friend making his second appearance on the podcast, a repeat guest, Leang Valenzuela. First and foremost, if you want to go check out the story of, as we were just saying, prior to 2020, Liang's career, going back to all the way to episode 20, you'll get that.
Yeah.
And Leang and I were teammates in Darmstadt, so that's how we met each other. That's how we know each other, played together 2019, which is insane to think that we played together 4 years ago now, and we've stayed in contact ever since, but I don't think we've actually seen each other in 4 years, well. So that's wild. But brother, How you doing?
I'm very good. How are you?
So this is a bit of a funny episode, right? Because I was talking to you and I said, hey, I had some guests kind of fall through. Can you do me a solid and jump on? And I want to talk about, because you're going through, rehab right now for a knee injury they had surgery on. You're like, yeah, sure. I have a doctor's appointment for the knee. Let's jump on afterwards. And then you just call me just before, and it's like, now there's more complications with the knee. And you can go into as much or as little as you want to with that. But just, I guess, talk to me a little bit about where the head's at, where the knees are at, and just how's life kind of treating you on the physical side lately?
Well, yeah, like you said, we had a prior conversation to the podcast, but honestly, it was not news that I was expecting. I knew I had something. Well, just to preface this, I had surgery in February for my right knee, and it was a torn meniscus. It was a pretty bad torn meniscus, so I had it repaired and also some of it cut out. It was my lateral meniscus. So I had surgery in February. I went into this basic physical therapy in February, March, and then I think it only lasted 2 months in basic physical therapy. There was a lot of adults and stuff coming in from other surgeries to my physical therapy place, and it wasn't really high quality, high tech stuff. So I only did it for like a month and a half or 2 months, and then after that, I went into like a high tech physical therapy spot, which they helped a lot, honestly. Um, I wasn't feeling my knee at all. I was just going through it. I was breaking like the barrier down of like being injured, then having surgery, then like that recovery period. And I was like, okay, like I think I can make it for August
Mm.
to play in Europe again. I had some like offers and stuff like that, and I was like, okay, I think I can make it to August. I go in the high tech's place, and honestly, like 2 or 3 sessions in, I go in, I feel my left knee, and I was like, okay, this is not good. Like definitely not good.
Mm.
They told me not to worry about it. They told me like it may be because you were overcompensating, so like it needs to strengthen up a little bit. And I went in like 4 or 5 more times after that, and the pain was like unbearable. Like I was feeling my left knee and not my right knee,
Yeah.
which is like, yeah, like I should be feeling my right knee a lot more than my left knee. But then after that, I told him like, hey, I'm gonna stop. Let me just make sure. Let me get a MRI on both knees just to see like if the right knee's doing well and if the left knee like there's nothing wrong with it, and then I can continue. Well, like I told you, I texted you yesterday that I had an appointment today for the doctor, and they were gonna read to me my MRIs, and I actually have the results with me, but I won't take them. Um, I have a partial tear on my left knee on my ACL, so like that means we talked about it before, but like just like the research that I've made, I haven't gone to like a specialist, like a sports medicine doctor yet. But like that means basically that it's 3 months of rehab for a partial tear if you want to do it like the PT side of it. But like if people have watched the other podcasts, like they know that we both play like at a good level up in soccer,
Mm.
like up in football.
Yeah.
So like there might be like a possibility where we go into a game, or like I go into a game, or I go into a training session after having done my rehab and like reinforcing like the muscles around it, and maybe I tear my ACL. So like I'm kind of like in two minds right now, and I'm not sure if to go the conservative route or to go into like the surgery route, because it's only partial tear, but at the same time like it's only a partial tear.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much to like discuss there, but I guess if we just talk about like this, like the first injury that you were rehabbing, like, because I think I don't know what in my experience of you kind of describing your injuries to me, like it seems like both now this ACL kind of partial tear, and even the first one when you had the surgery on your meniscus, it was like it never seemed to be that one moment where like something happened and then you knew right away that was the moment that did it, right? It's like it's kind of just this gradual, all of a sudden this pain starts to occur, and then next thing you know, you have an MRI and there's tissue damage there, or there's like ligaments that are torn. So I guess what is that process like for you when you go in and you're having this pain and it's getting to the point where you can't play at the level that you want to and you can't move without pain the way that you want to, and then they say like you have to have surgery. What goes through your head, especially thinking about, I know the level you're trying to play at and all the dreams and goals that you have, like is that, I don't know, I guess walk me through like that moment when you find that out.
Well, first of all, like you said, it wasn't like for some athletes, and I think I'd rather have it that way, like where I know when it happened
Mm.
and how it happened. But at the same time, like, yeah, my situation was a little bit different for the first injury for the lateral meniscus on my right knee. It was like I I just felt the pain, and I was like, I'm invincible. I'm like 21, 22, right? No, yeah, I was 21, 21, 20, 20 or 21. I just felt the pain. I was like, yeah, I'm invincible. Like I've never had surgery. I've only had to like sprain ankles, like the worst of it, right? Like we think when we're young. And I just kept going through it. On my right knee, like I felt pain like after practice in Germany and after practice in Spain. But I was still able to like compete and to do a very good job on the field. And after I came back my second year in Germany, sorry, I just knew something was up because after training and after my games, I couldn't go up the steps like normal. Like I felt a sharp pain in the inside of my knee, and my knee would just give out sometimes. And I would just be walking, and it would just give out. And that was the moment where I was like, okay, I'm not invincible. There might be actually like something seriously wrong. So after that happened, I came back to the States. I had my MRI, super positive, like optimistic myself, like and I didn't think anything of it. I was just like, yeah, just a couple months of physical therapy, and that would be it. And then literally, I believe I texted you or I called you that day, but when they told me the results that I had a lateral meniscus tear and it was like very bad, like the MRI showed it and they showed me like the pictures and everything, I almost fainted like in the room.
Wow.
Like literally, yeah, literally almost fainted and like I just went like numb and I just went like I was almost like about to pass out right there. And they had to like bring me soda and like some snacks so I wouldn't like pass out. Yeah, it was terrible because like most athletes don't know that feeling, and I didn't know it until then. That I'm not invincible. Like there's actually like some things that that are wrong with like your body that you really need to like get checked. And I honestly regret not going. Like you said, there wasn't that moment that I knew that I had something wrong like way before.
Mm.
It was like gradual, but like I honestly wish that I went a little bit before and just like checked that out because I don't think it would have been surgery. I think it would have just been physical therapy. And that's one thing like I recommend to like athletes, like any athletes, even like footballers. If you're feeling something minimal, then like check it out. Like that goes to like body wise, that goes to like mental wise, that goes to like pretty much anything. If you're feeling something and you know it's not right, don't wait for it to get worse. And yeah, just get it checked out because at the end, like insurance here in America is very like well and like you know, like we can get stuff checked out like in matters of like weeks. So like yeah, just get it checked out and yeah, you never know what you have until you actually get the results. And yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think like I was always something when I was younger. I never really like understood when athletes would talk about like listening to your body, and I think it's something that like as I've gotten older, I've definitely started to understand it, and like now I know pretty early on like whether or not something is like all right, this is just this is just soreness, this is just like normal aches and pains, wear and tear, or this is like actually okay, like I've done something. Um, and there's still definitely times where you're kind of like on the edge of that and you decide whether or not you're going to push through or not. Like every person's different with like reading that information of their body and then actually how they're going to act upon that. But yeah, like it's a good point. Like I think when you're younger, like especially you at that time, you probably are thinking like, well, like I compete and train at a high level, so yeah, there's going to be pain. Like I'm not going to feel fantastic all the time. So you probably think eventually these sorts of things are going to start to go away if I do the things I need to do, on and off the pitch. And then, and that's why, like with some of those injuries where there's not that moment, right? Like for me, like when I broke my wrist, like I knew immediately, right? Like the bone's not in the right place. So like it's clear. But when you have that lingering pain and lingering pain, those are the things where you sometimes can wind up a month or two down the road, then first going to get it, checked out. And when you have that, you get it checked out, you feel the information, or you're told the information, and then now you have a plan of action. Like I know you, and I know the way that your mentality is when you approach the game and you approach a life. Like, so how quickly did it take you from going kind of like, man, I'm not invincible, I'm going to be out of football for a while, and like maybe allowing yourself to feel that sadness, to like, all right, I just need to attack rehab and I need to do the things that I need to do to get myself back on the field. And I know something you and I spoke about as well, like get back on the field in a healthier and better place than before because now I'm going to be pain free without having to worry about my knee. Like, how long did it take you to get to that?
How long did it take me to get to the level where I was like in between that sadness and in between that like okay, I need to do this?
Yeah,
Is that
yeah.
what you're asking? Wow. I don't know like the exact like time frame, but honestly, one thing that really helped a lot like during that like transition period between like sadness and me actually taking action, it was like friends like you yourself, family, like people around me, and just like literally not depend on them, but like really lean onto them. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
Like really see like what advice, not even advice, but like what positive words they have and stuff like that. Like one thing I do when I'm like sad or when I'm like dealing with a tough like situation is for me that I go through like I like kind of laugh it off or like I try to think super positive and I try to like make a joke out of like everything
mm.
that happens because at the end of the day like nothing's like that serious. But that period lasted, I would say like if I would have to estimate like a month or like two.
Mm.
Before in that month or two I did therapy and I knew that I wasn't going anywhere, so I was like, okay, I need to get surgery, like 100%. So like, yeah, it took like a month or two for me to like realize, like, yeah, if I want to do like my top shape, then I need to get surgery, and then I need to just recover after that.
Mm. Yeah, it's a good point that you make. Like, I definitely, and I can come on here and say like that I've been incredibly grateful for the friends that I've had in football, like specifically yourself as well. Like, there's something that is so different about also being able to speak to someone who can like relate and resonate with the same things that you've gone through, right? Like, I can call you when I'm over here in Australia or at other points, when I was in Denmark, or you call me when you're in Germany, and like we both can tell the stories of what we're going through, and the other one can understand it because we've been through it as well. Whereas, like, it's great to talk to your family. Don't get me wrong; it's great to talk to your friends who are outside of football, and they're great. But when you're telling them about how, okay, last game I got dropped and like this game I didn't play well and like, I'm lonely over here. Like, they don't quite understand it to the same degree. So like, I think it is important to have that support system of people, but also people that have like a similar goal and similar mindset to you and similar ambitions. Because I know, man, like I
100%.
even know
Yeah.
where you kind of have it lined up, where like what's in the future for you and what's in store for you. And obviously like this other knee is kind of just a small roadblock in the way. But what were some of those things that you were kind of thinking of football wise when you were getting kind of closer to a point, with rehab where you felt like, all right, I'm close to being back out on the pitch?
Like, wait, can you repeat the last part again? Like about me being close to getting back on the pitch.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know it's a difficult question now based on the information given today with like it, but I know
Yeah.
like maybe it's easier if we just take it back for a second. So like 2020 is when we did our last episode. Maybe talk to me a little bit about kind of the career that ensued 21 and 22. Like, what have you been up to football wise before we have hit this injury point?
Well, in 20, I remember we talked like December 2020,
Mm,
and there I was like in an area where I was practicing with a UPSL team here in the States, and also like working on my training company, just like training kids one on one and small groups as well.
hmm
I was at a point where I was just training UPSL and trying to get highlights. Like that was my whole like that was the goal. Me playing UPSL, me getting game time, me getting fit, and then just sending highlights after highlights after highlights. I don't know at which point, like between January and July, one of my old coaches from Germany hit me up and he told me that he had an opportunity for me in this Landesliga, which I believe is a sixth division
Yeah.
in
Was
Germany.
this a
It is
team
the
that you
sixth,
went
right?
and
Yeah.
trialed with before, like when we were both there, or was this just like brand new?
No, the team that we trialed for, it was the same coach that led me to the sixth division team, but the team that I trialed for
Mm.
was the Alsnau, which was I think fourth division, like the
Oh,
first
gotcha.
team,
Yeah, yeah,
and the second team was in seventh.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but it was the same coach. The same coach referred me to this new club, and he told me that he had this opportunity. Like it was great. It was in a small town in Germany, so like cozy kind of.
Mm.
They were gonna like give me a job. They were gonna give me a flat and stuff like that. And I was like, for sure, like 100%. So we talked in December. Like that wasn't even part of the plans. I believe it was like February, like March that he hit me up. And by February, March, I had like racked up some like videos, so I was trying to edit them. I was decently fit, to be honest. Like I was very, very like well fit. And yeah, I just sent him the video. They said yes. I signed the contract from like my house and stuff like that. And I went to Germany, and I believe in the beginning of July or in the end of June. It was like June, ending June, beginning of July. And I went there. I got to Germany. It was very close to Frankfurt, like 45 minutes in train.
Mm-hmm.
And I yeah, I went there. I got there. My first weeks were amazing. Um, I the first week we didn't have a game, or we did have games, but my player card wasn't there. And you know how like player cards are in Germany.
Wow.
They're super
You in
super annoying.
Germany
Yeah,
and
like the
player cards just
process.
never
It's
work
crazy.
out for you. You always have to wait longer than everybody else.
Honestly, and especially because everyone there was German. Like I went into a team full of Germans. Like
Yeah,
there was like 22 players, 21 were German, and they were all from the same region,
yeah.
same area. So I went in there. I had to wait for my player card. I was doing so well in training, like amazing. Like I was killing it every single training session. Like I was the fastest there. Great, and I've never like told anyone this. I've never like shared it. I don't think I've even shared it with you, but I'll share it here. But I had my first game in Germany, like with that team, with Victoria Kal, and I did super well, like extremely well. I the manager after that, he was like, "Yeah, you can easily score like 15 to 20 goals this season. Like if you keep playing like that." Because I didn't have like clear opportunities, but he just like saw the desire, how fast I was, and like my mindset and how my mind like read the game. And I was like, "Okay, like thank you very much." Like that motivated me to keep going. And then after that, I was living in a hotel for like 2 weeks.
Hmm.
After that, I moved into my flat. Everything was well, and I was playing Xbox, right? I was playing Xbox and I was playing Call of Duty with my friends, with my brother from here, and this was like a very this was like a very negative area for me because like I have a mentality where like if I do something, I do it 100%,
Mm.
right? Like anything that I do in life, like if I want to do it and if it motivates me, like if it keeps me happy, then I'll do it 100%. And I apply this, and I know this is like a fault that I have, but I apply this to everything.
Mm.
And in that sense, I applied it to Xbox, right? So I was in Germany. I was super lonely. Like I had no friends over there. The guys in the team were German. There was like I think 3 or 4 guys that actually welcomed me, but like the other ones, they spoke English, but they just didn't want to speak to me. And I was like, okay, fine. We're teammates. Like we can treat each other well in the field, but like on the outside, we don't have to hang out. So like that kind of caught up to me. Me having an Xbox and me like having friends on Xbox that play Call of Duty and like FIFA and stuff like that. That really got to me, and I started playing. So like the hour difference is like 7 hours.
Mm.
So on weekends, especially, and during when we have games, I like used to play until like 3 a.m. my time in Germany, and like before trainings, and like so that like as you can yeah as you know, like that caught up to me because I wasn't resting enough. I was just playing video games. I just like missed like the people that I had
Yeah.
that I didn't have in Germany, like that social like vibe, and so I overdid it. I played so much like Xbox. I played so much video games that I overdid it, and I wasn't like my first like month in Germany was amazing, but after that, like after I got an Xbox and after like I actually like started like playing, then everything went downhill from there. And I've never told anyone this. I've always kept it to myself, and I was always in denial because I was looking for like excuses, like maybe I wasn't happy enough, maybe I wasn't like motivated enough, but it was like a mix of things.
Yeah.
Like maybe it was the team, like like maybe it was the coach, like how like we soccer players are when something is not going our way, like maybe it's this, maybe it's that, and we never like assess ourselves. But after like I think like a year and a half, dude, I just know that where I went wrong, where like my thing was like this, like my stock was like this, and then it went like this, was when I just started playing too much video games. And I got super addicted to FIFA, super addicted to Call of Duty, and I was going to sleep like at 3 or 4 a.m. when I had training the next day, but it was like at 6 p.m.
Mm.
So I was like, wouldn't it's not gonna matter. Like I'm gonna sleep like 12 hours or like not even 12 hours, like 8 hours. I'm gonna wake up like at 1 or 12 p.m. I'll be good. I'll be solid. But no,
Yeah.
those things caught up to me, and dude, like literally, like I went from like being the fastest to like having to like catch my breath like sometimes and stuff like that. And I never really had that until I got benched because I started like every game until like the 10th game. Until I got benched, like that's when like it hit me. And it was too late just because like there was other people on the team that were doing relatively better than me like on the pitch and on training sessions and stuff like that. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's like one thing where I'm like, yeah, I went wrong.
Yeah, but I mean, like, listen, I can, again, like, that's why I say it's important to have people like that go through the same things to like be able to relate to that. Cause like I can relate to that 100%. Like, um, that was a lot of my what my experience was in Denmark. Like in the beginning, I felt like I came in and like I was flying. I was like, I'm finally back in Europe. Like this is awesome. Like I'm playing well. Like cool. Like let's do it. And then as time goes on, especially at that point, it was like early 21, so it was like still in like the height of the pandemic. And I know I've like talked about this a ton on this show, so people are probably sick of it, but whatever. But it was just like bro, like I had nothing to do. Like the only thing that I had was like football training, and yeah, we trained 3-4 times a week, and then we had matches on the weekends and stuff. But like at the end of the day, like as much as we love this, I think we've both realized that like you have to have more to life than just than just football. Like it's not enough, unfortunately, to like sustain you. You have to have social interactions. You have to have other things. You have to have other hobbies, interests, like to make a complete life. So I remember speaking to you about like during that time as well when you were in Germany. I remember how tough it was for you to, like you said, like kind of small German village. You don't have quite that same like social network, those connections outside of the game. Like, and then it's hard. It's hard when you're not your full self to then bring your best self into what you want to do, into your job. Like, it's never easy to perform, especially at the highest levels of sport like that. It's tough to be able to compete and give your best when you're not feeling your best all around. Um,
100%.
but I remember too,
Yeah.
like there were a lot of things I feel like that you were speaking about that made it difficult. Like I remember, didn't it take a while for like you to get secured with a job, and like weren't there some visa issues as well that you kind of had to go through? Like, what were some of the other things that made, I guess, other highs and lows of your time in Germany?
Well, definitely the highs was playing with like a lot of people in the stadium or like in the ground.
Mm,
That was definitely like a very like good high, and like every single time like you got past a player or like I can't explain that feeling. Like when you get past a player, but you get like a really good shot off. Like when you score a goal, like the people just reacting to it.
Yeah.
Like that's like one of the highs that I have. Me in training and like knowing like to myself or like I kept that to myself. Like I knew that I was better than like 90% of the people that were there.
Mm.
There were other like talented people like in my position, but like I was very like much there and like knowing that it made them angry that like an American or like Puerto Rican came all the way from America just to like take the field on the field. Like that was another high just because they were very like conceited and they were very like just like hard headed in that way. But lows obviously family.
Yeah.
Um the visa issues and stuff like that, yeah, 100%. I had to secure a job before a certain time period or else I wouldn't get my visa granted. I did secure that job. I was working 9 to 5, 9 to 4, and I was super far from where I trained and where I lived at. So like I had to wake up at 5 a.m. like German time to take a train an hour to the location where I worked at. I walked like 20 to 30 minutes and I got to work. I worked like from yeah, like a 9 to 5 like 7 to like whatever time that is, like 8 hours,
Mm.
and then I would just go home. And there was days that I would like arrive to work in the nighttime and like leave work in the nighttime because you know how like
Yeah.
it gets
Short
super
days.
super
Yeah.
dark super early over. Exactly. And that was a very like very low where I like had to. I was working as a carpenter for this company, and like I was dealing with like heavy wood, like heavy stuff every single like day, and I would still have to like perform my best
Yeah.
in training and in games and stuff like that. And just like another low is like the German people there and like my teammates weren't going through like the same things. Like you never know who has the worst or like who's like going through what. But like I knew like I was exerting myself like 100% like outside of football, and for me to like exert myself 100% in football, like it was tough.
Mm.
Like some people would just like get home from school or like just be home all day playing video games, and then they would go to they would go to training. So like they would be much sharper, much fitter, and like much everything. So like that was a very low, like the coach like not understanding that and like not giving me like a the benefit of the doubt, like me being tired and stuff like that. Um, the other low was like getting situated with like the housing and stuff like that. Where like all the promises that like football clubs and managers and coaches like and agents like they promise you,
Yeah.
and when you get there, it's not actually like the real thing. Like I had to pay like out of pocket for a hotel that was very close to the place that I was staying at, but like still, uh, like 2 weeks out of pocket over there. And then they were promising like food, and at the end of it, like it was very late into the year that they came in, and it was honestly too late. Like I was in a small village of like 10,000 people. I didn't speak the language that well. I tried to like go to classes, but it was like during COVID or like the extended version of COVID, and they didn't have any classes that were online. And I don't do well like learning online, so I didn't do that. Um, yeah, like seeing the same people every single day at like the supermarket, and like having like that dirty look to me just because I didn't look the same as like everyone there,
Mm.
or like I was just an outsider and like people didn't know me there.
Yeah.
Like I gotta give it to like some people like Alex who was in my team, Nico that was in my team, Lippy, and also my landlord Daniel. He was super helpful. Like I love that guy. He still hits me up to this day. Also, Fritz, who was like the manager of the team of like the whole club, and Andrea as well. Like he really helped me like during that time. But yeah, and another low, just like the social thing of it, like not going out, but just like socializing with people. Like sometimes I would get invited to Alex's house to like have dinner with him and his girl and stuff like that, which was super nice. But at the end of it, it wasn't like, you know, like friends that I've had here, like
Yeah.
yeah, like social like settings that I was used to, and it wasn't something that I could get accustomed to because it was very inconsistent, you know.
Yeah.
Like I'm a people person, so I would love to be around people like all the time. So it wasn't like feeling my energy, my social energy, or my social battery,
Yeah.
as people say.
Yeah, I
So
would say like
I think that's
it
pretty much
takes
it.
like so much. Like I think one thing people don't quite understand is like there's so like you're when you move to a new place and like you're trying to do something this play, there's so many new things that you have to accomplish all at once. Like you have to go to a new country where you don't speak the language, you have to find a place to live, you have to get yourself a visa to stay in the country, you have to sign a football contract, you have to play well, you have to try and make friends, you have to try and get a job. Like normally in most other walks of life for people, they pair like two or three of those things together, and then oh, I got this new job, so I need to just find a new apartment and try and go make friends there, right? Like when we do it, it's like we're doing all the things all at once, and that takes time. Like it takes time to feel like you're actually a part of a new home rather than just a visitor or like a foreigner that's just kind of passing, like a ship in the night type thing through this little village. And sometimes like you already know that's what it's going to
100%.
be like regardless, because like, all right, I want to play here, I want to do well, and then I want to try and move up, or I want to try and move here, there, or everywhere. um so like I completely get that, and there's
Yeah.
a lot of challenges that are faced with. There's obviously, like you said, there's a lot of rewards to it as well. Like this is what we love to do, and playing football in front of people is an amazing experience. I think people would be curious as well to know, like,
Yeah.
so this is Landesliga, right? And this is obviously going to differ probably in different places around Germany, and from club to club, it's always going to be different. But like, what does a contract for that level look like? Like, is it we're providing you with a place to stay and like match payment and all that stuff? Or maybe, I mean, break it down for me if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it was monthly, which I think pretty much every contract for football is. But it was 500 if I like met all the requirements, 500 euros per month.
Hmm.
If I met all the requirements, like played all the matches, like went to training and stuff like that, didn't have anything like subtracted, didn't get any fines like during the club. Um, Also with housing, they helped a lot. With food, yes, maybe
So
sometimes
like,
like
did they
towards the end,
find you a place to
100%.
stay and then you still had to
Yeah.
pay for it? Or was like, they're like, all right, we got you sorted with a place? Because I know that's something for sure, like I would recommend to people, like if a club says they're going to find you housing, like just also like maybe do some of your own research as well, because like sometimes things like that fall through and you don't want to be left with nowhere to live.
100%. No, yeah, they did try to help with housing, but it was like it was like a mismatch of like things because if they would have had me housing, then the job that they were gonna find me was gonna pay for it. So that was basically their way of saying that they're gonna pay for it.
Hmm.
But I ended up just researching like on Facebook and like eBay Kleinanzeigen, which is like a thing over there where like you can find like rent and stuff. I ended up finding my own place and stuff like that, and yeah, I ended up finding it myself. They said they were gonna help. They at the end of the day, they didn't. The job it got there super late, so I had to pay like my own rent for a while,
Mm.
and until like I got the job, it was when like it was they were able to help and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, but like the main thing was 500 euros per month, like honestly, and like the other like were half promises that they either kept sometime or like they didn't,
So is that is
which is not a lot, honestly.
yeah, I mean, like, listen, it's honestly, it's not really any shade even specifically to like your club. Like it's just that's a lot of that happens with a lot of clubs. Like it happens with a lot of, like you said before, agents, managers, coaches, they promise you something and then like they can't deliver it. And sometimes it's like they're over promising, and sometimes it's just like, something happens, circumstances outside of their control. So like I don't know. I kind of I've gotten less upset over the years about things like that when those fall through, because it's like, like we've been around the block, like I've seen these types of things. Like with so like your monthly contract, is that like for example, like mine down here, it's so like like it's pretty much a lot of it's incentive based, right? So like each time I'm in the team, I get X amount. Then if we win, there's a bonus for that. If I score, there's a bonus, assist, but like things like that. So like for you, is it that's the 500, and then are there bonuses like built into that as well, or is it just that's month in month out? That's the same.
No, it was, I believe it was 125 per match, like that I started and that I played like every single game.
Hmm.
I mean every not every single, but like 60 minutes or more, I believe, or 70 minutes or more. If I got sub in like in the first half, like, and I played more than 60 minutes, then I would get it. That was like the 500, and I would get like incentives, like yeah, like assists, like score. Not if the team will win, but yeah, like personal, like individual, like rewards.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, because just like another thing I would like advise, and I'd be curious like if you would advise it too to like players that are looking to go in any country like in the lower leagues, is just to like also understand that probably like some of your contract like isn't really guaranteed, you know? Like if you go and you like sign an MLS contract, like okay, yes, I might have bonuses, but I know I'm getting this check for X amount every single week or every single month. Like a lot of times in the lower leagues, it's like if you get injured and you can't play for 2 months, like
You don't get
yeah,
this
you're
500.
out of money.
Yeah.
So if you're like counting on that money, it's tough to like live that way because like a lot of clubs, I know a lot of clubs will do like a certain amount like per point or whatever. Like I know that's how like certain clubs do it. So, but again, a lot of that in the lower leagues comes down to you actually have to be involved, and so it's like I wouldn't necessarily advise people to like completely bank on however much money they're going to get paid. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, 100%, like you said. Like if I could tell like my younger self, like even like a younger generation, like that their dream is to like go up levels in the pyramid of like European football, especially like in one country like Germany, definitely go there with money. Go there with like save that money in your bank account. Like go there knowing that you're not gonna get anything. Not like knowing, but like expecting the worst and be prepared for like the worst. You know,
Hmm.
like go there with a lot of money in your bank account so that you can, if you need to, like you can get, like you said, you can get promised like a lot of things or a lot of like money and like housing, food, and stuff like that. But go there expecting like you're not gonna get anything like that. And then when you do get it, then it'll be a bonus. When you don't get it, you're not gonna feel disappointed because you were ready for that situation. I really wish that I would have been like more mindful of that. Like you never know until you try it, and you never know until like it happens to you.
Yeah.
So like I can't really blame myself, but like at the same time, like yeah, I kind of, if I would tell like a younger me, like I would say like, hey, go. They're probably not gonna pay you anything. So like go with all the money that you can provide for yourself for these X amount of months, and just go from there. If they pay you, then fine. If they don't, then you have that saved up. So you, and like you said, like there's a lot of things, like there's a lot of like cons into like playing like overseas and stuff like that, and that would be one of them. Like you having to worry financially, and I think that's one of the worst like worries that like a person could ever have like in their life, or like a burden. Like, am I gonna make it to the end of the month? Am I gonna get kicked out of the house if I don't pay my rent at the end of the day? You know,
Yeah.
like just be prepared for the worst. Honestly, that's the best advice I could give someone.
Yeah, man, it's tough, and like, and also too, I think it's a bit of like be humble enough to also like go and work that carpentry job, right? Like, I know it's not ideal. I know like after you hang up the boots, like you're not gonna pick up a hammer and like become a carpenter, but if it gives you the opportunity to like keep playing in Germany and at that time like kind of give you that opportunity, then like do it. Like I know other guys who have gone to Europe, like done other kind of odd jobs like that, whether it's carpentry, painting, things like that. I mean, I even spoke and too. Sometimes it's even players like at full professional levels. Like I spoke to a couple weeks ago, um, player who was playing. He's played like top level in Serbia, top level in Montenegro, And every time like he goes back home, he'll go back and drive Uber because the money that he makes, like when he's playing in Montenegro, for example, his name's Danilo Rajan. For anyone who wants to go check out the episode, but when he plays in Montenegro, like it's good money for him to live there, but when he comes home, like the money doesn't really translate very well to like kind of living a comfortable life when he's in the States. So that's what like I know you'll find for a lot of players really at a lot of different levels that when they come home, it's like, all right, I'm even thinking of it myself. Like I'm going to be home in a couple of weeks. It's like, all right, here's my time where I just try and stack as much paper as I possibly can because you never know what's going to happen. And yeah, like I said, it's not even, I wouldn't even necessarily limit it to just like lower leagues. Like there's some higher leagues in like smaller countries where, yeah, you're a pro, but you could like that money that you're making 500 euros, like that could be like smaller country. That could be like full-time professional. Like that's your wage. So it's like, are you prepared to do that? Are you prepared to really grind like that?
100%. Yeah. If I could, yeah, definitely be humble enough and be down to earth enough to work those jobs because at the end, if you really need it, if you don't need it, then 100% just focus on football. But if you do need it, then don't have shame. Like don't be ashamed of like other people looking at you or like judging you,
Mm,
because at the end of the day, everything that you do is just like working towards your goal.
yeah.
So like, there's no one that could really like they can judge you, but like you yourself know that you're doing this thing just because you want to achieve like the goal that you want to achieve, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
So at 21, you're in that first half of the season with Carl, and you go until December when they finish up that first half, and they break for the holidays. Is there a thought to go back, finish out the season with them, keep playing? Is there a thought to go somewhere else? Like, kind of, what are you thinking going into the holidays of 21?
Well, going to the holidays, I did not want to go back. I definitely left Kyle and I left Germany in a state where I was like, I don't plan on coming back here. I'm not in a good headspace. My knee hurts.
Yeah.
So like everything was like negative, like leaving there. Um, I had to do this for myself, and I went to Madrid, like like on the way back home. I went to Madrid. I went to watch a Real Madrid game. Like I had to do that to myself because I was just not well, like mentally.
Mm,
I was well physically, but not really my knee. Um, just like emotionally, like I wasn't well at all. So I had to like do that to myself and go to Madrid, watch like my favorite team play. Like that was one of my dreams. So I had to fulfill that. And then when I came back home, I was just like I was just focusing on my knee. I wasn't thinking about going back. I was thinking about going back to Europe, but not back to Germany. And I was honestly just trying to get my knee sorted out and just to see what I had so I can attack it further. And if not, then yeah, I was not thinking about going back. No, like 100% not.
yeah. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough when you have an experience like that. Like, especially like I think you get towards the end of it, and there's like all of those things, and there's like that combination of kind of like feeling so burnt out with the experience as well, because like you're feeling all these emotions like for so long, and then you kind of just like you need that breath of fresh air coming home. Um,
Yeah.
I guess like how do you when you finish your time in Germany, how do you look at going back to Europe? Like, I know you said that when you got the first German opportunity, it was like through a former coach that you had trained with when we were both there. So, like, when you leave Germany and you're like, all right, I know, like, I don't really want to go back to Germany. I want something new. Like, how do you kind of start to put those steps in motion? How do you make a plan to get yourself back into Europe? For like any player who is out there listening, thinking like, yeah, I want to go play lower leagues Europe too. Like, how would I do that?
like a player like in my situation, or like a new player like going into Europe,
Oh, let's use more of the
or
context
kind
of
of
your
both.
situation. Like talk about what you did.
Okay. So what I would honestly do after like I'm ready, either January, hopefully, or next August, and just like in my experience, like you and I both know that we were roommates. Like we used to talk a lot. Like we're very like people person. We like to talk to people. Like you have your own podcast now, which is amazing. Uh, but like we love to talk to people. We love to meet people. So we met a lot of people over there in Germany.
Mm.
I met a lot of people in Spain. Not only people, but like football people, like football coaches and like managers and stuff like that, and trainers and players. So not really like a lot of connections per se, but like a lot of coaches that are in some leagues that may be needing players and stuff like that. So like the game plan, like let's say I'm ready August.
Mm.
The game plan would be using I'm on transfer market, and me having that is very like big for European clubs.
Mm.
So I would in my situation I would use that. I would before August try to get as many highlights as I can, like here UPSL, or edit the ones that I had from Germany, just to prove that I have played on a high level in Europe, and one of in top five in Europe. Um, Next step after that would be honestly what I am gonna do and what my game plan is just to book a flight, like
Mm.
let's say Portugal, or like to a place where I know that where I think I could be like culturally accepted and like loved, because I was loved in Spain. Spain was the best experience in my life, apart from like how the club treated me, but that's that's in another place. But like Spain, like the people and stuff like that, like the people like just very caring, the fans and everything like that, beautiful. But like I would go to like a country where I would be like very emotionally like comfortable in, and I would just go to clubs. I would just like knock on doors, or maybe like email them like, "Hey, I'm here. This is my transfer market. This is my CV. This is my YouTube highlight clip." And stuff like that. Just attack it like head on. Like, would I be able to go to a training session? Because the worst thing that they could say is no. And I know you remember this, like in our room, like us emailing clubs, like, hey, like, can I swing by for a training
Yes.
session like this week? And like us emailing the clubs in the area of like Darmstadt and stuff like that. So I would go back to square one. Like those things like never fail. Um, Maybe try to get an agent, but I honestly don't believe that at this stage of my career I would not need one, because you can always like use some help, but like they would be used like effectively.
Mm.
Because let's say I'm getting 500 at a place and they will be taking like 250 or like 100, so I'll be left for nothing.
Yeah.
So like yeah, definitely my game plan will be before I go to like a country in Europe, know that I'll be having only 3 months, like saving up as much money as I can, go to a country in Europe, use those 3 months to like knock on doors, travel all over Europe to like clubs, emailing clubs, and like yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's honestly the game plan.
Yeah, there's like two main things that I wanted to touch on from like what you said there, like because that's like really good, like really good advice. First is like to like the connection piece of it. Like I remember coming into Germany, like really feeling like I didn't have connections in the game. Like everyone talks about how you have to be connected, you have to know people. Like, and I think it was like I just didn't understand what type of connections you needed. Like I thought it meant like you had to be, have a sporting director's phone number like in your phone. You know what I mean? But that's not what it is. Like any person who's listening to this right now, who's involved in football, has connections, and it's just it may not be what you perceive as like a connection that's going to help you, but you have to be a little bit vulnerable and put yourself in an uncomfortable situation and kind of just like lay your cards out on the table and ask for what you want. Like, cause I remember I got to a point in Germany where I basically like went through my contact list kind of all the people that I like had coached with, played with, like anybody. And I was just like, hey, this is my situation. Like, I'm here in Germany. I'm playing. My goal is like, I'm trying to go higher. Like, even if you can't help me, do you know of a person who I could maybe have a conversation with, who I could maybe, just speak to, just to pick their brain? And you'd be surprised at like how many people, even if they're not the person to help you, they say, well, I have this buddy. Why don't you talk to them? Like, give them a call or see what they have to say. And now when you go to that other person, you say like, hey, I was speaking with Jack and he said he knows you. So I just wanted to like get connected. He said you'd be a good person to talk to. Now, 90% of those aren't
100%.
necessarily going to lead to a professional contract, but maybe, two of those lead to a trial, which leads to this. You never know. And when you're a footballer who's just starting and you don't really have a name, you don't really have a resume, you don't have a big time agent working for you, like you got to get your foot in the door however you can, whether it's you slide it in before they close it, whether you try and kick that bitch down, like you got to do what you got to do. That's what it is. Um,
100%.
but the other point that I
Like
like
you
that you
said.
that you talked about was like you and I both know how much the conversations changed with clubs when we were actually in Germany. Meaning, like, when we were like, hey, I'm playing in Darmstadt, I'm living in Darmstadt, I could get to your club, in 30 minutes tonight. Can I come down and train? It's much easier for them to say yes versus like I've talked to some of those same clubs that I used to talk to back then since. And they've been like, oh, are you in Germany? And I'm like, nah, I'm still in America, but I'll come. And they're like, immediately left on red. Like they're like, all right, you're not here. It doesn't like it doesn't matter. So that point when you said like if I was gonna go, I might just make some connections first, maybe send some emails first to see if I can get anything, but just go to Portugal because I'm telling you, like, and you know this as well, the game changes when you're actually in the country, when you're on the ground, and you can even I don't remember if you were a part of that group or not, but I remember we used to train like right down the road from like where the Darmstadt 98 academy trained. And some of the boys like after
Mhm.
training literally just were like, we're gonna go knock on the door and see if we can find somebody there and see if we can go train with them at some point. Like that's the type of thing. Like if you're actually in Portugal, you can go around to second division club, third division club, and maybe you'll get turned away, but maybe you'll get a training session out of it. You never know.
Yeah, yeah. The thing is, you can't be afraid of the no, and that goes to like that's my advice to, like everything in life,
Mm.
like in terms of jobs, in terms of relationships, in terms of clubs, in terms of football. Like you can't be afraid of people saying no to you. Like what gives? Like it's not gonna affect anything. The worst thing a person could say, or the worst thing a club could say, is no. So like me just going over there and like knocking on people's doors, like knocking on clubs' doors and stuff like that. You can't have any shame, like because at the end of the day, like I said before, what you're doing it for is for your dreams. So like if you're afraid of a no, and if you're afraid of getting rejected from people that like are in the football world, then don't do it. Like if you're afraid of like getting like shunned off, like don't do it.
Mm.
Like you have to have zero shame, especially in this football world. Like is very like it's demanding, but it's also very like it's very negative.
Mm.
So like you have to be aware of like what you're getting yourself into, and like just have zero shame and just reach out to, like you said, you're texting people who like you've never talked to before, but like, hey, do you know someone? Like you have to be very direct and straightforward, and just you're doing it for your dream, and that's pretty much it, honestly.
Yeah, like it's even and like you would be surprised too at how and it's not everybody, so I don't want to like just say it like as a blanket statement for everybody, but you'd be surprised at how like accommodating and like helpful footballers are willing to be like for each other. Cause like it's a relatively like smaller community than you think. Like, yeah, there's a lot of people that are like trying to do this, but there's a then smaller list of people who are like actually about this, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like
Actually,
there's a lot of people
yeah,
that like sit and like no disrespect to anyone who I've spoken to, but there's some people who have like reached out to me, via the podcast and like I've gotten on the phone with and there's like like I said, like there's people who want to do this and there's people who are about this, and like there's a difference. And like you being a person who's about this, like I
Yeah, you can
even
see it. Sure.
yeah, like I even think of, how you and I have been able to help each other with certain, like, hey, I know this person, do you want to reach out to this person? Like even just when you say there with Portugal, like immediately one or two people pop into my head that I'm like, oh, I could pass along contact information. Again, who knows if it's actually going to lead to something like definite, but it's another conversation. It's another person that in that country. And like, I would even say
And
too,
it
like,
doesn't
I'm
hurt.
so grateful of like some of the people who have been like on this podcast, which I would like, shout out as well. Like the guests that, will get off the episode and they'll be like, hey man, like if you need anything, like, or if I can help you like in your career, like give me a shout. Like that's the type of thing like I think you'll find a lot of footballers will do. But you have to take that first step and kind of like reach out and ask, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we should start a football community. Thinking about it,
Yeah,
because
I've
like
always
you said, it's very.
yeah, I've always thought about like how to tie in like something like this with the podcast, like with speaking to all these people. Like I don't know, I haven't quite put my finger on like what's the best way to do it, but it's a good idea. If you've got ideas, like let's make it happen. I'm down.
We should. Yeah, because it's a very small world, honestly. Like I'm pretty sure you've had this experience, and if you haven't, you're probably gonna have it. But like, there's people that like have lived very close to me that I've seen in Germany, or there's people that I've played with here that I've seen in Spain, or like they're very close to me in Spain, or like the world is a very small place, and like the football world is even smaller.
Hmm.
So like the fact that I met this guy down in Miami that I ended up playing with in Spain, or like that I ended up playing against that I recognize, like it's nuts.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Yeah, bro. Like I had like this guy Noah Kavanaugh on the podcast, or some people may know, who's like kind of big in like the social
I
media
love that
space and
guy.
stuff. Plays for Flower City Union. Like had him on the podcast. He was like, "Oh, I spoke to this guy who I went on trial with, and he's down in Perth as well, like another American guy. So like I've been connected with him. We've trained a couple times. Like just like small things
That's
like
sick.
that. Even a guy has come into my club who played with a guy who like I used to kind of play pickup with, like back in my like home town, like home area. It's like you said, the football world is so small, smaller than you think. And I think like the key to that as well is like if you want connections to help you, like for you to also be like a good person on the other side of that as well. Like if people ask you for stuff, even if you can't necessarily help them, like if you're the type of guy who's like gonna gatekeep everything and somebody's like, hey man, like I'm trying to do this, like, and you're not gonna share any of your like secrets or not like help out, like I feel like your karma is gonna run out pretty quick, and like that's not really gonna be a good way to go about it either.
100%. Yeah, yeah, and that goes through every like stage in life. Like you have to be a good person for good things to happen to you. Like good things happen to those who wait, but also good things happen to good people. Like that's like one of my rules in life. Like you have to be good for good to happen, and you have to be good for good things to happen. But also, when bad things happen, don't think it's because you've done something bad. Just bad things happen to good people as well.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Oh man, this has been fun, man. I'm glad that I got to have you back on the show. I didn't even realize it had been so long, like since you were on in 2020.
Thank you
Just
so
freaking
much.
crazy. And like I said, haven't even seen you in person since 2019, and it's like I don't know. I hope by the time that I'm home, it will be you'll still be home and we can figure something out, and you're not off to Europe, or then I don't know. It's like it's something that's so cool about something that's so cool about like the sport is that you can call people and be like, oh, like how's this part of the world, or how's this, like how's it going, like, but also it's tough because you always feel like you're just missing each other. Everybody's crisscrossing and going opposite ways.
100%. No, we definitely need to get a training session in,
Yeah,
like one of these days, wherever it is.
wherever it
That'll be
is.
sick.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming on, brother. I know,
Yeah.
I know. Obviously, it was a bit of unexpected news today, and kind of threw a curveball into
This helped a
everything.
lot.
But
Thank you so much.
that's what life happens sometimes.
Life does its thing, innit?
All right, folks, that's it for this week's episode. Thank you so much to Liang for jumping on, and being able to share his story again. Just catch up with him was amazing, especially a tough week with a couple of guests that kind of had to reschedule last minute. So I was able to text him quick, and he was able to just jump on right away. So I can't thank him enough for that. Obviously, I'm wishing him the best in terms of what's next with his knee injuries, and hoping for a very speedy recovery, and looking forward to seeing him back on the pitch, and what he's going to accomplish in his future footballing endeavors. I can't wait to see that. If you've made it this far in the video, for those of you that are watching and for those of you that are listening, you know I asked you to do it at the top. Maybe you didn't do it. Maybe you forgot. Maybe you thought I'll do it at the end. And now here's my reminder for you. Please go to YouTube and hit subscribe on the In the 11 podcast. I greatly appreciate it. It helps the channel grow. It helps more people hear about the show. It helps more people get the episodes and hear the amazing stories of people like Liang, and spread the news to other footballers and other people around the world. So please go ahead and do that. More episodes to come. Next week we're dropping an episode that's going to be a solo one with me, where I talk about finishing up here in Australia. We've got a bunch of guests lined up that are going to come in the following weeks. Definitely a lot of content where we'll break down kind of my whole experience in Australia, and then have some good guests on as well to kind of crazy, but we're going into sort of the end of the year here with content. So thank you guys for your continued support. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.